Hi, I'm Louise Brady. I'm the Art K-12 chairperson this year, and my colleagues Jennifer Schmidt and Katie Adamanelli are here with me. And we invited 3 students to speak to you. We have Maddie Marjolin, who is representing the fine arts at Greeley and her experience here. We have Julianne Tostado, who is representing us in fine and industrial arts. And then I asked Lucas Zhao, to talk to you a little bit about some of the inventions he's created. So with the creative process at Greeley, we started working on visual literacy and personal expression. And maybe 4 years ago, we started working with Diane Cunningham on the APPR process. And before I get into that, I'm going to let the students speak so they can go back to senior musical rehearsal. So this is Julian's work.
I'm Julianne Tostado. I'm a senior at Greeley, and I've been involved with the art department at Greeley since freshman year when I took visual and sculpture. And that led to me doing a 2-year independent study with one of the art teachers, Mr. Metzler. It was a really great experience to do personalized one-on-one projects, and I led my own project and created a small book of quotes and my own artwork. I also was involved in the industrial design program, and I lead the invention group, which is a club at Greeley, led by Mr. Kaiser, the industrial design teacher, and through that I got involved with STEAM. On the STEAM committee, I helped to design the new STEAM building. I was one of the few student representatives, and we worked along with administrators, teachers, and the architects. It was really cool to have my voice heard and learn about architecture, design, and education, and how they can be very connected. Through that and the club, I got into AP3D, which is in its first year this year. We have AP drawing and photo, but this is the first year AP3D, which is sculpture and industrial design, is offered. I really enjoy the class, and everyone does their own concentration, and mine is based off of minimalist sculpture. Through that, and my work with Mr. Metzler, he suggested Dia Beacon, which is a museum nearby, and because of that, next year I'm going to Tufts and studying art history and education, and for my senior experience I'm interning with Dia Beacon. I'm really excited that all of the experience I've had inside and outside of the classroom at Greeley in the art department has helped me decide on what I want to go towards in my future, and I really put the Greeley art department responsible for my motivation for my future plans.
Julianne has been our student voice with the STEAM process from the beginning. She's worked with architects, and she's been incredibly helpful. And this is Maddie's work.
All right. Hi, my name's Maddie, and I'm a student this year in AP Art, and I will be attending the Rhode Island School of Design this fall. And for me, art is very much a lifestyle. All the media I consume, from the books I read, what's happening in the news, to the Netflix shows I binge watch, all of those inform my art in my day-to-day life. And it's gotten to the point where I have so many ideas that it's become necessary for me to document my work and research. And so last year, as you can see in the top right, I made a journal where I challenged myself to do a collage every single day of things that inspired me, including Hamilton or where I traveled. And I would put little bits and pieces of receipts I had or ticket stubs from the movies I went to. And through this, I learned how to experiment with art beyond just charcoal, pastel, traditional fine art, I suppose. Through that, I also learned to sort of think critically about what was happening around me. And that actually caused me to create the middle piece this last summer, which focused on my sort of experience with gender and sexuality. So I'm actually transgender, and I did this piece based off of 19th century clothing where pink was considered actually a masculine color. And so that was about my own experience of androgyny. And gender and sexuality, those are issues that are very relevant today. So I guess bottom line is, although technical skill is important, although you do need to know your 2B pencil from your HB or know how to set up a still life, art is so much more than just graphite portraits and still lifes. And especially today, we already have cameras that can depict what's in front of you absolutely perfectly. So rather, I believe that art should be an outlet to show your own point of view on the world and tackle issues from today. And so art over time has caused me to become a more open, inquisitive, and informed person with a stance in this world. So thank you.
And Maddie is one of the reasons that we focus on art the way we do, and the expressions that you've just heard were really exactly what we're trying to accomplish. And now I asked Lucas to come because of his inventions. He works with us in industrial design, and he has a couple products that I asked him to bring to show, if you would.
Hi, my name is Lucas Xiao. I'm a high school junior, and this semester, I'm taking my 3rd semester of industrial design. So I really like industrial design because it's different than all of the core classes that you would usually take, such as math or social studies, because the design process in industrial design is completely different from the design process or the process, like the scientific process or the writing process, because there really is no wrong way to go about the design process, in industrial design at least. So for me at least, what happens in industrial design is you come up with a problem that you might need to solve, a prompt, and then you can basically do whatever you want from there. You don't have to follow a set course like the scientific method. You need to follow that course or else it's incorrect. But in industrial design, sometimes these weird ideas or these crazy ideas that other people might think, they might just be the ideas that people are looking for. You need to think out of the box, which is something that math or sciences don't do nowadays. So I just wanted to show some of my inventions that I did while in industrial design. So my first invention, so I'll go through the thinking process that I did when creating the invention. So, yeah, I guess I'll talk about the process and then I'll show the invention. Okay. I guess. It's okay. The problem, so the first thing you have to come up with is a problem, or you don't even need to come up with a problem. You can just build something and then come up with a problem for the product. So, well, that happens a lot too. So the problem was, one of the problems that I thought of first thing is, so a lot of people don't wash their hands after using the restroom. I don't know if you know this, but only 50% of people wash their hands after using the bathroom. 50%. So statistically, if you look to the right, that person, if you washed your hands after using the bathroom, that person did not wash their hands. Now, I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but you know who you are. So anyway, enough of that. So my thing was, how do we keep from spreading these germs around? There's no way you can force someone to wash their hands, right? Well, mostly. But, so the solution I came up with is, this year, during the summer, we remodeled the cafeteria, correct? And we installed some turnstiles, which if you don't know what they are, they're, if you go to New York City and take the subway, they're the barriers that you have to swipe the Metro card through to get through. That's called a turnstile. So our turnstiles in the cafeteria, they currently just serve one purpose. They make sure you go in one direction and one direction only. So what I thought was, well, we could always add another attachment on it. So I came up with this design. This is a turnstile, but in addition to that, there's also a hand sanitizer little receptacle on the top. So what this turnstile requires you to do is you need to put your hand into this little box and pull on a little lever inside to get some hand sanitizer on your hands before the turnstile will let you go through it. And so this way you sort of force people to clean their hands, even though people don't like being told what to do. This just takes a little bit, like a second, so it's not that bad. And Yes, the design, I came up with a mechanical design for how it might work, and the design is entirely mechanical, so there's nothing electronic to go wrong in there. You can leave it outside and it won't break. And it doesn't need batteries, it'll still work in a power outage. And where you might use this is like a cafeteria over here, or a hospital, or something where you need guaranteed cleanliness, or you want people to be clean. And the second design was, well, I can talk about it this way. So how do you tell the difference between a $10 bill and a $1 bill?
You look at it.
Yeah, the answer is you look at it. But what about those people who can't look at it? Those who are visually impaired, they can't really see the money well. Well, that presents a problem. Unlike the euro or the yuan or mostly all the other currencies in the world, the US dollar is in one size. It all feels the same. It's, everything is the same about it. So what about the people who, they can't see? Well, there are methods to go about identifying these different money values, and they're pretty complicated. You have to fold the bills in different directions, or you have to take a punch and you punch Braille into the money, which is pretty cool, but it's time consuming. So what I came up with is this wallet here that is intended especially for the visually impaired, but of course you can use it without being visually impaired. So what this is it has 4 pockets for the 4 major denominations of currency, 4 separate pockets in 4 different directions. And at the mouth of each pocket, there is a different cutout. So you can feel which pocket you want to get your money out of or put it back in. So in this way, so this one would have 2 cutouts and 2 cutouts here, and 1 cutout here and 1 cutout here. So in this way, you don't have to look at the wallet while taking money out of it, and all your money is kept separate. But this still, obviously, this still requires someone to tell you what the denomination is, but mostly people are honest, hopefully. And so that's how I came up with this. It's square, so it's there's no real up or down, and and there's no identifying marks either. So you can be free to attach whichever one of these patterns to currency denomination. And yeah, I did all of these in.
Have you actually used it, or had anybody use it?
Oh, I used it for a couple months. So this was my wallet for a few months. I have one. I made this brand new for this, but I had one that's pretty tattered at this point because. And what I do during class is I just feel around with it because it's pretty fun to play with, and you can pay attention to the teacher, look like you're paying attention to the teacher while you're, playing around with this. So industrial design is one of my more favorite classes, and its design process really caused me to think outside of the box. Because, now I notice, I used to notice a lot, but now I notice more about, bad design and good design. And yeah, it's changed my worldview. That's great.
Some middle school teachers came to Greeley to observe, and they saw Lucas, and they asked him if he would go to the middle school. They're working on a unit on germs, and he's going to do presentation for all the 5th graders about germs and his invention, and help them think of other ways that we can prevent the spread of germs. So we're really very proud of all 3 of these young people. We could pretty much drop the mic and leave now. They've said it pretty much all. Thank you. You guys can go to see it. Thank you so much. Okay, so as you can see, art helps us to see the world differently. Art doesn't just make things pretty. Art's designing, inventing, creating something new. So as I said, when we started working with Diane Cunningham, we really had to look at our practice, and we decided to start at the most logical place with the district's strategic question, and we asked ourselves, are we doing all of these things, and can we do it in a better way so it's more open to other students besides just art majors? We have a handful of art majors each year, but we have hundreds of students who can use lessons in creativity and problem solving. So we started with the AP standards and thought we would work our way backwards. And the AP standards don't say things like the students should learn about color and line. They say they want nuanced expression. They ask for a verve, and what student wouldn't benefit from having a little verve? So what we did was try to look at the creative process for the fine and design arts, because we think both are important. We start with problems, we explore. There are so many ways students can explore. They prototype, they try to do different versions. We don't let them do just the first thought that comes into their mind. We're trying to train them to think divergently. They create, revision is really important to us, and then we've been working on presentation too. Can you speak to your peers? Zach Arnold has worked with us, and he put together, based on the creative process, he put together a really simple version of the design process, which is going to be used for STEAM from K through 12. And this version, Think, Execute, Reflect, really sums up what we would like kids to do. Some challenges and problems, as you can see, they're not questions that you can answer with yes or no or one specific view. It's something that's really open-ended. We're trying to get the students to communicate their own voice, to find out about themselves, and to empower them to feel confident. On the left, it's a beautiful still life. In the past, if we came to this presentation 4 years ago, that's what we would have shown you. But now we've pushed the boundaries a little further. On the right, it's an amazing drawing, but now it includes personal perspective, and it includes a personal point of view, and it also includes technology. For photography, we still focus on traditional photography, which is on the left, but why not let the students have another way to express themselves? Why not go a little bit further, especially when we have technology available to us? This is from Amanda McDonough's middle school class, and it's an incredible series of pieces where the students did self-portraits, and you can see from this the expressive depth that they went to when they put together these portraits. This is from an elementary class. It's from Diane Jablon's elementary school class, and not only did she teach the students about variety of line, but she taught the students about the fact that there's a variety of people. So what better way to learn about diversity than through art? The STEAM skills, there is form and function as our focus, and you can see Lucas's invention on the left. He comes to us quite often and says, I have this new idea, and we just love it. On the top right, there's another student, Reed Cohen, who invented something that you can use. It's a pop-up disaster relief. There's a solar panel in the middle, and there are small hubs on the outskirts that have power going to them. Car design, what is more beautiful than a sports car? That's something that students really enjoy designing. And the two prototypes are from Carolyn Elwood's middle school class. She's working with Chris Stasi in technology. They're combining efforts to put together a tiny house project. They're doing a prototype of a tiny house, and we're talking about possibly building an actual tiny house at Greeley when they get here. So the vision statement we created for the K-12 group, we got together a couple years back, and this is our vision statement, that art is not just for the artists, and aren't we all artists at heart? It's about making students productive, creative, exploring, and imagining and creating the future. And we really appreciate the opportunity to present this to you, and we're really, really happy that we had students who could come and talk to you. We're very proud of them and the work they do. That's it.
So when you said that's what you would have showed us 4 years ago,
Yes.
where do you see us 4 years from now?
Oh, that's a good question. 4 years from now, I see us solidifying the K-4 curriculum to be more about creativity, to start right from kindergarten, focusing on exploration, not necessarily on product, but more about the process of learning who you are as a person, empowering students, and teaching them that they can be creative and they can express themselves. Innovative is a big part of ours.
Can you teach creativity, or you can only draw it out?
You can absolutely teach it. There are things we do. For example, we have students brainstorm. We're fortunate to have Chris Kaiser working with us, and he was a former toy designer and industrial designer, and he told us some of the processes they used when they did brainstorming. So we do that. We try to get the kids to think divergently, and we give them some skill sets before we let them settle on an answer, and that really builds creativity.
Is your experience that everybody has some creativity within them somewhere? It's just a matter of bringing it out?
Absolutely. It's just a matter of fostering and supporting it.
There's still hope for me at 55 here? I can bring it out?
Of course.
If you had teachers who gave you courage when you were younger, you'd be creative now.
But different type of creativity, right?
I'm blaming my high school. I'm with that. I'm okay with that.
But there's different type of creativity, right? There's artistic
Absolutely.
creativity, there's musical creativity.
Absolutely. I have actually I have a printout of an email Robert Root Bernstein is a professor of physiology at Michigan State, and he was corresponding with Chris Kaiser for a bit. He wrote Sparks of Genius about the world's most creative people. And in his studies, he showed that Nobel laureates, the most successful scientists, were 7 times more likely than average scientists to be involved in the arts in their personal lives, and they were 12 times more likely to be writers in their personal lives than traditional scientists. And I have also an email from Dan Pink, because Chris has been corresponding with him as well. And he, as far as the STEAM, we had talked to him about what our plans were for the arts, and he said the science versus art is a false choice. He said that's at odds with what's happening in the real world. For instance, medical schools are taking students to art museums to make them better diagnosticians. Engineering schools are adding humanities and programs in music so the graduates can think more broadly and work cooperatively. And in Daniel Pink's words, what we really need, wait for it, is a whole new mind. We need artists who think like scientists and scientists who think like artists. So we're trying to foster that with our students as well.
You know, it's interesting. You always hear about like the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. I think our district does something pretty well. I think we're seeing that tonight. I like to call it 3 A's, arts, athletics, and academics. So right now, so we always talk about academics at the board meetings. Well, we've seen athletics tonight, we've seen arts tonight. It just shows that we need to continue growing, like you said, the whole person, not just someone who can look at a math problem and figure it out.
This morning, I told Eric his ears must be burning. Every group I'm involved in that's creative, the art department, the English department, the STEAM, the advanced technology, we're all saying how much we'll miss his support and his understanding of what it means to be creative. And we really have been all talking about that.
And very appreciative.
Well, I just want to comment that, you know, one of the first things Louise said is that we started this work with the APPR work in Diane Cunningham. So let's go way back. I often don't say anything good about New York State. There might not be anything good I've ever said about New York State, but you know, this department and this group of educators really took advantage of a situation, and this happened across the district. You know, we were forced into a ridiculous situation by the state. We came up with a strategic plan guided by your question that I still contest is absolutely cutting edge. By your question, and look at where we are now. And this was dealing, you know, our way of addressing APPR, and this is an incredible example of how important that was for us as a district and how that's pushed teaching and learning. Forget the APPR system, it's what came out of that and what this group of fine teachers did with that. So,
You know, what struck me as you were speaking is that you've also coordinated from K through 12. Well, you're trying to. And, you know, sometimes that's a frustration with different levels. Hey, you know, they're supposed to be building a block here, so I can do the next block. And I, you know, so as a board member, I appreciate that aspect of how you know, starting from the beginning.
and I would just compliment Louise as well. Louise met with the elementary principals today to sort of frame out the summer curriculum project that is going to articulate the K-12 Art curriculum and update our maps and really get this work going with our staff across all 3 levels. So we're pretty excited about that summer project.
And just to add a little perspective, I'm so very pleased to see this work. I've been around this kind of work for a while in my life, and I've come to a very strong belief that one of the things that we must preserve, and I'm very happy about what you're doing in elementary, is create that foundation. You'll see in our budget report we're adding a half an art teacher to the elementary school next year because we want that foundation to be strong. Thinking in 3 dimensions, my background, I have some background in engineering and architecture. The importance of being able to see around things and think around things, these are the people who do that every day. And we need their support to realize some of the work that this gentleman is greatly responsible for and to continue into the future. But this is great work. And to the answer about creativity, a bunch of years ago, many years ago, I was involved in a study about creativity and standardized tests of creativity. And I found no correlation between standardized tests of creativity and classrooms that permitted creativity. So it's the world we create for children that makes the difference. And these people are invaluable in that creation. So I just want to thank you for your work. I think it's great. It's just wonderful to see. And we're going to continue that work. because Eric's built, there's an expression in history, true believers, people who will always carry the flag of this kind of work. And I want to assure you that it's going to go forward. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Eric, for
Thank you
your
so much.
leadership.
Thank you so much.
Hang on a second. Hang on, I didn't ask my questions. You got to sit down.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not done. So I really appreciate the interdisciplinary aspects of what you're doing, and I think that we talk about that a whole lot, especially with the STEAM initiatives, and so now we talk about art in conjunction with science and math and technology, and that's great. But what about pushing that interdisciplinary effort a little bit more? Have you thought about joining up with English department or, social studies? I mean, there's certainly correlations between art and literature, art and history. And so, I'd like to continue thinking even more out of the box, because now STEAM is not so new. STEAM is a box in itself at this point. It's exciting work, and, we're still at the beginnings of it, but I would still like to push that out a little further and, carry that work on, not just keeping it in the STEAM category, but pushing those boundaries open a little bit more. And so I just want to know if you have any thoughts about that.
Yes, we currently have an art teacher who works with an English and a social studies teacher for humanities. And I have spoken to the English department chair to talk about possibilities for the future. Jennifer is on the L Building Committee to look at interdisciplinary work in the humanities. And I met with the administrators this morning to talk about, I looked at all the curriculum maps from K through 4 to see how the art can connect to math, science, literature, and the social studies that they do. And there are many, many connections that can be made, and that's a thing that I also agree with you is really important.
Okay, thank you.
That's your elbow.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much.